Instead of taking no for an answer, officers now obtain a search warrant to forcibly draw blood and get evidence for the case. The key word there, of course, forcibly. But the video you have got to see, Randy. It is.
Everybody would agree that this is disturbing video, Russ.
I've never been raped by a rat. This is so unnecessary.
No! Excuse me, hold on. I never fought nobody. I didn't never do nothing. What the hell is y'all doing?
What they're doing at the Gwinnett County Jail is strapping down suspected drunk drivers to a gurney so a nurse can take their blood. Evidence that can be used against them later in court, even though the suspects refuse to give their consent.
What country is this? What country is this?
Of invasive procedure into somebody's body is ridiculous for investigating a misdemeanor.
Intrusive, certainly. Invasive, you bet. But legal? Yes, say authorities, even though the law supposedly gives you a choice.
We all are American citizens, and you guys got me strapped to a table like I'm in Guantanamo Bay.
At the Gwinnett County Jail, every forced blood draw begins with strapping down the suspect on a padded table and putting them in a head grasp. Every time, whether they're compliant or complaining.
We can't take the chance that you're not going to lose your emotional control during a situation that is so sensitive.
And it's not just male DUI suspects. This woman eventually pled no contest. Another is still waiting for her day in court. Both showed no resistance, but deputies still strapped them down.
Is there any concern that this just doesn't look good?
You know, I understand perception, but the reality of that perception is we work in an environment to where experience has shown us that you can play Russian roulette if you want to, but it's going to catch up to you.
Told me I'm arrested. They're taking my blood without my consent.
Michael Chaworski's only DUI arrest turned into the worst night of his life. He's yet to go to trial and says he's not guilty.
I'm not fighting you, dude. Don't push me too hard. I'm not fighting you.
And nobody should have to do that.
But a state law passed in 2006 allows police to ask a magistrate for a search warrant for blood in any DUI case. Since January, Gwinnett authorities have done forced blood draws more than 100 times.
You're being served with a search warrant for 2 vials of your blood that you're going to take now.
In terms of forcing people down and holding them to, to stick a needle in their arm to get it, I think it's just an unreasonable search of those people.
Another showdown between personal liberty and public safety.
There's hardly anybody that you can talk to that doesn't know somebody that was killed by a drunk driver. We ought to do something about that, don't you think?
Even the most compliant suspect they fear might seize up somewhere during the removal of their blood. They just worry about him because, after all, the reason they're there is because they didn't cooperate in the first place.
It's matter, but we were all sitting there looking at that video, just taken aback by it all.
Test shall be given if you refuse, but then it comes back later and says that the police can still get a search warrant to draw your blood. So is it a conflict? Sounds like it could be.
Well, the Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable search and seizure. So I guess the question is, what's unreasonable? And honestly, I'm stunned.
States across the U.S. celebrate freedom this 4th, with no refusal DUI/blood draw checkpoints. States have implemented no refusal DUI checkpoints at which they will heavily punish non-compliance with forced blood draws and hefty fines. By Jack Burns, July 4, 2017. If you're thinking about celebrating the 4th of July, Independence Day, by having a beer or a glass of wine, you won't be alone. But you better think twice before driving, because all across the country police will be enforcing so-called no-refusal DUI checkpoints. In the land of the free, police departments from sea to shining sea are announcing forced blood draws, no-refusal checkpoints, and papers please or driver's license checkpoints to keep citizens safe this 4th of July. Multiple states now have policies in action where drinking and driving can get your blood drawn by force for a misdemeanor. In spite of their increased presence over the last decade, DUI checkpoints and Soviet-style roadblocks have not proven to significantly decrease DUIs. However, low-cost, free enterprise solutions are showing real results. Rideshare services such as Uber and Lyft are always a better option for folks who live in areas with vampire cops and who want to leave home for some boozing. Advertisement. Florida-based Henderson Law described their state's practice. In a statement, they detail how someone who wishes not to participate in a breathalyzer or field sobriety test can find themselves in hot water with the law. Normally, drivers have the right to refuse a breathalyzer or blood test, requiring police officers to obtain a warrant for this test. In Florida, refusal to take a roadside breathalyzer test will trigger an automatic 1-year suspension of your license. But at these checkpoints, judges are either on site or on call, giving police the ability to quickly obtain a warrant and compel a blood sample test. Texas will have no refusal DUI checkpoints set up to catch Americans drinking and driving. And while at a normal DUI checkpoint one can refuse to complete sobriety tests, in Texas a judge will be on site and issue a warrant for someone suspected of drunk driving to have their blood drawn. Read more, murder charge dropped against man who killed cop in no-knock raid. Well over 100 Americans will lose their lives over the 4th of July weekend, according to published statistics, which may lead some to accept the forced bloodletting of suspected drunk drivers. But to civil libertarians, the impermissible taking of one's blood violates the U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment barring unreasonable searches and seizures. Aside from the constitutional atrocity that forced blood draws present, it's also an Orwellian nightmare. Anyone who's ever seen videos, like the one below, most likely thinks of Nazi Germany torture as they watch multiple officers strap unwilling participants down to hospital beds for forced medical procedures. Attorney Gregory P. Isaacs addressed the conundrum Tennessee residents are in. He addressed the law allowing for the no-refusal DUI checkpoints. Anytime government is allowed to commit a seizure of your body and withdraw evidence prior to being arrested for a crime opens the door for a lot of issues. This law really opens Pandora's box on virtually every DUI stop and weakens all of our fundamental freedoms. And in Oregon, there's a monetary price to pay for refusing to take a field sobriety or a breathalyzer test. The penalties for your first refusal begin with a fine from $500 to $1,000 and a suspension of your license for 1 year. For your second or any subsequent refusal within 5 years, you have to pay the same fine and your suspension will last for 3 years, according to published driving laws. In other words, immediately refusing a police officer's request to submit to an alcohol test results in the immediate loss of one's license. Along with losing the license, a hefty fine will be levied. If you refuse a second time, your license to drive can be taken away from you for 3 more years. Read more, shock video. Cop claims freedom of speech does not give citizens the right to question police. And just if you're thinking of calling rideshare to come take you and your loved ones home after a night of drinking, be very careful. One of our field reporters interviewed a woman today who said her son, after a night of getting hammered, remembered he had left his cell phone in his car. He went to his car to retrieve it. While inside his vehicle he called for a Lyft, rideshare. As he was sitting in his vehicle, waiting for his ride, Phoenix, Arizona police approached him and gave him a DUI for sitting in his car while drunk. To all our readers out there, make plans to stay safe on July 4th. It's better to leave one's car overnight in a parking lot than create a victim of your irresponsible driving or fall victim to the state's forced medical procedures. But, don't take our word for it, watch it in action for yourself.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheep up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it. So I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if some, if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea, too, that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.